up your chips. There's a formula, which you were talking about earlier on, for the perfect chip butty.
There is. Look at this first before we get onto that.
OK.
Here it is. So we're going to play around with chips a bit later. There's like a sort of a nacho-style stack with a bit of pulled pork. Gyros with Greek version there, my Greek version, which you grill. And then also my late grandfather's favourite.
Right, so that's what you're making?
Yes.
What about the chip butty?
Right, over here. Now, the formula says...
Yes.
To get the perfect chip butty, you've got one in front of you there. It works out. White bread. Now, I deem by that the cheapest white bread you can buy.
Yeah, I agree.
It's like fishing bait. It's fantastic. It doesn't come off the hook for hours.
Yeah.
OK, and it is butter, chips, ketchup, buttered bread. And it is 12 chips, thick cut, or roughly 60 grams, 40 grams of bread and ketchup on top, like that. So, I want you to taste it to see if you really think that's the ultimate sandwich. Now, I think it depends on how fat the chips are. And also... Oh, look at that.
Hello.
That didn't go well, did it?
It happens.
But that's what happens at home. And then what you have to do is press it down a bit as well. Press it down to start with, to stop it falling to pieces. It does need salt, and the chips need to be nice and hot. But to me, that's not bad. I personally would like a few more chips and a little bit more butter in there.
Really?
Yeah, yeah.
I think that's pretty good.
I think so, yeah, but don't fill you up, does it?
I like a little bit of vinegar on mine as well.
Oh, well, we'll come on to vinegar in a minute.
OK.
Yes. Right, so that's that. Now, just moving on slightly. Well, I thought we'd muck about with chips. So these are all chips that we've cooked before. I use the 3 times cooked ones. You can bake them, you can fry them, you can air fry them. It's really up to you.
Can I just say,
fire away.
This is the first time we've stood in the kitchen
isn't it?
for 2 years.
So we can do this, can't we?
Yeah.
We do this.
I'm assuming we're allowed to do that.
Too long. Oh, sorry.
Group hug.
I love it.
Well, that's it.
Girl.
We'll all be off next week now.
Anyway, then moving on. So then I thought we'd play around with loaded chips, a bit like nacho style. So you can make your own here. Now, I've got a mixture of pulled pork, guacamole, cheese, coriander, sour cream, and you stack them in the bottom. So you put a few chips in the bottom, be careful they're hot, and then you just use the guacamole as a glue, along with the cheese. Now, if the chips are warm enough, then the cheese actually melts slightly, it holds it together.
Ooh.
And so you can put a stack. So,
So then I put... what's the glue? The guacamole?
Guacamole and the sour cream. So then it's up to you, Joe. Josie, you just put them all in, that's right?
Yeah.
That's fine. Guacamole. I don't know if you like coriander or not, that's up to you. And whilst you're doing that, I've got one here that I've done a little bit earlier. And I just want to lift that off there and you'll see. Now, what I used to have at home, a really deep cylinder like this big, and we'd put nachos in when the kids were little. And we'd just stack it up and put the whole thing, and it just sort of stays there. And you put it in the middle of the table. That's right. You've got your bit of cheese there, Josie. Look
I've
bit of coriander and that. Yeah.
He does my accent all the time.
It's only because I lived in the West Country for years, and it was just reminds me of living there. That's what it is, isn't it? Like that, like that. That's it.
Right, my answer?
You're so good at it. You're so good at it.
For 10 years, I should be, shouldn't I? Anyway, so basically, it's up to you what you want to do, and then at the end, just try to get your cloth, Phillip. You're all over the place. Here, look.
No, I'm not fine. I'm quite perfectly come on.
Lucky fingers.
No, I'm not. I'm going to lick them in a minute.
And then just lift it. That's it, Josie. And you lift it off.
Yeah.
You've got a little stack. Look.
Oh, I forgot to put some chips on top.
Well, you can put some more. Look. Some there, look.
Hold on. Right.
There you are. Look. That's it. Look at that. Perfect. I've got this one here. So I'm going to finish mine with a little bit of sour cream, which I love.
Right.
And do you know what? No calories at all, which is fantastic.
Yeah.
A little bit of cheese.
And then...
Look at that. And it comes... Oh, look at that.
Oh, that is so neat, Phil.
Look at that. I'll get rid of that for you.
Right, I'm going to try mine.
Bit of coriander. So it's just... Look at that.
Well, it's a different sort of makeup, isn't it?
That's
you put more cheese in there
Exactly.
and less, obviously less of the stuff. Good.
I'm really happy with that. It's like a chip cake.
Wet your fingers.
Thank you.
So there you are. You can have a taste of that. Now, moving on. Gyros, which is a Greek-style preparation. And I lived in Greece for a bit, years and years ago, and this is how they used to do it there. So, first of all, you need to marinate your chicken breast or chicken thigh. You've got one already finished there in your pitta, so you can take that wherever you want. And all I do is marinate...
Chips in a pitta?
Yes, with meat, which we'll come on to in a second. So a little bit of yoghurt onto the chicken. I do add dried oregano, a little bit of garlic, not too much because it's powerful stuff, and then a little squeeze of lemon. And you want to just marinate these up for a couple of minutes, just until they get nice and coated in there. You can leave it up to about an hour. That's absolutely fine. You don't need a lot of yoghurt. As you'll see, that 2 tablespoons goes a long, long way. A little bit of salt and pepper onto there. And then, here, in this tray, I have... These are frozen chips. You can do fresh ones. If you're going to do fresh ones, half cook them, so you blanch them so they're soft but not finished, into a tray, then put your trivet on top, and then you put the chicken on top.
That's what I can taste.
That's what you can taste. And then, under a grill, if you've got, obviously, in summer, you'd do it in on a barbecue, but you can just pop this into here like this, like that, and as that cooks, you see, all the bits drop off into the chips. Now, if you use frozen chips, the great thing is that by the time they've actually warmed through, it actually cooks pretty much at the same time, and nothing's wasted. And I love that really, like, sort of grilled effect. So I've got one here that we did a bit earlier, and you'll see. That's a bit there, like that one there. So now, I don't know if you've got a bit of that. Now, to serve with that, I've got a bit of tzatziki, which you have right here.
In it.
There's a bit more if you want it, which is just basically a cucumber and raw garlic in a bit of yoghurt. And it just cuts the richness of the potatoes. And
then this final one... Your granddad's one.
Right.
When you say... what sort of gravy has it got to be?
Right, over here. Now, my late grandfather and my grandmother, they had on their table this here. They had a bowl like that, and it looked like an old pint pot, you know, that dimpled effect glass jar or glass bowl. And in there, they just had pickled onions, and they had it on everything, OK? So fillet steak, or got to have some onions on the fillet steak.
And that's just onions sliced up and left in vinegar?
Yes, just for a couple. They'd leave it for days.
Yeah.
And all he would do, he'd cook his chips, and my grandmother cooked her chips every day. The mushy peas had to be nice and loose like that. He said if you go to the chip shop, don't go when it opens, because they're using the chips up for lunch. Go a bit later on. Love him. And the pouring gravy had to pour on top of his mushy peas. It did... Look at that.
Oh, lovely.
How he liked it. And then he would put his onions on top. And that was his meal to die for.
What part of the country were they from?
I lived in Blackpool. Blackpool and...
Because my grandparents and my nan as well, both sides of the family, all from Oldham, always had onions in vinegar in the kitchen. Yeah, absolutely.
And also, chips, mushy peas and gravy is a northern thing. I never, ever see it down south.
Oh,
Yeah.
Phil.
There you go.
Thank you.
Becky Waterhouse's pies as well, but there you go.
Yeah, magic. Thanks, Phil. Thanks. For all of the details of today's recipe and more delicious ideas from our morning chefs, head over to the free This Morning app.